Best scene, Himal Gold. Tibet, 1938. Old hut, interior, day. Inside the shelter, the piece is disturbed by a snarl of wind as it forces its way through the gaps in the stonework. Sebastian pulls his army greatcoat around his shoulders, the collar pulled up to his ears. Two soldiers are brewing coffee over a fire, and others come to fill their cups. A youth of just 18, whose mother had sent him a package of home-baked Lübeckkuchen biscuits, passes them round among his comrades, who greedily shared the welcome bounty. Sebastian holds his tin cup of bitter coffee to warm his hands while the sharp wind whistles about him. He looks up through the rising steam of his mug as an officer enters via the half-rotten timber door. By a reaction that had now become second nature, the men stood to attention as Hauptman Weiss leaned his weight against the timber frame and forced the door shut against the biting wind.
Finish your coffee. Sit, sit. You have 5 minutes before we have to go.
Weiss is middle-aged with a somewhat hooked nose, bitter mouth, and dark eyes that seemed to be tunneled into his skull. He looked almost sinister.
5 minutes and assemble by the truck. There is work to be done. And never forget that it is for the glory of the Reich.
He clicks the heels of his polished boots in a fashion that seemed to echo a different age, when chivalry was still not an outdated concept. He leaves his men, boys really, and returns to the wind and feathering snow that has just started to pirouette down from the heavy sky.
Very well, men. You heard what Hauptman said. Drink up!
But before Sebastian's words could be finished, they were drowned by an ungodly howl that seemed to echo from every direction at once, and filled each man with dread. Vincent swears as he spills hot coffee into his lap.
Was zum Teufel?
There's no answer until Gunther suggests a simple explanation.
Just the wind, boy.
There's no way that was just the wind.
You have a better explanation, perhaps?
The officer bursts back in through the door. He is pale and shaken and speaks with a tremor in his voice.
Come along, men. Weg and see sich. It's time to go.
You have a better explanation, perhaps?
The officer bursts back in through the door. He is pale and shaken and speaks with a tremor in his voice.
Come along, men. Weg and see sich. It's time to go.
Sir, what was that sound?
Weiss has no answer. He is no less troubled than his men, but as a Wehrmacht officer can show no fear in front of his men. He pauses before answering, and then says simply,
There was no sound, soldier. Now move, before you're all put on a charge.
The men exchange nervous glances and exit the dilapidated building with caution, not sure what abomination might be waiting for them. There's nothing there, nothing to have made such a howl. Hauptman Weiss has hurriedly made for the truck's cab and is already seated, apparently studying a map. His driver joins him, sliding behind the large wheel while the other men clamber into the canvas-covered rear of the 3-ton Opel Blitz. They find seats on the empty packing crates that filled half the truck's floor space. As the last soldier pulls himself wearily up, the truck jerks forward as the driver drops the clutch in his hurry to leave this place behind him. If not for Sebastian's strong young arm, he might have been left behind. As he glances back, he thinks he sees something, the blur of a figure, white against the rocky skyline, but he cannot be sure. The Opel truck bounces along the narrow rocky road that is barely wide enough for the vehicle. One side of their road stretched up to a steep cliff face, and a merciless drop flew away on the other. The driver keeps in low gear and makes slow progress, churning up a cloud of dust that swirls with the dancing snowflakes. Inside the back of the truck is general disquiet. The men are bounced about on the hard suspension as the Blitz cautiously makes its way along the rutted track. A packet of cigarettes is passed around, but no one seems interested in smoking. From the front, over the sound of the truck's engine, they can hear the officer's muffled voice directing the driver to watch for the edge.
Gott im Himmel. Take care, you fool.
Without warning, the truck suddenly hits a rock. The soldiers in the back lose their seats as the driver fights for control. The driver stomps hard on the brake, causing the truck to slither sideways. He wrestles with the steering wheel as he tries to recover control of the Blitz's momentum. The truck finally comes to rest with the rear wheel hanging in the air over the drop. Hauptman Weiss is almost in hysterics as he shouts orders to the driver.
Scheiße, scheiße! Reverse away from the edge! Schnell, schnell!
With a noisy grinding of gears, the driver eventually rams the lever into reverse and lets out the clutch. The free wheel spins in the air, but there's no drive to the wheel that might have been able to pull them free.
Stop, stop, you idiot! You're making us slide closer to the damned edge!
Weiss cautiously looks from his side window. What he sees is of no comfort to him. The truck is now precariously balanced over the edge. Looking down, all he can see is a precipice. which would have them all rolling to their deaths into the mist-shrouded valley.
Everyone out, schnell, schnell! Try not to rock the truck!
Weiss bangs on the rear of the cabin, but the men had already found their feet and had jumped from the truck. The driver eases his way out, and the Hauptman follows.